Another day, another video on a C8 Corvette mod. That's the mod. And that's the box that said mod came in. Yeah. A little bit of a size discrepancy here. But anyway, this is how GM always does it. They sell you something in a box that is way too big for the part that they're selling. But anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about what this is and why you should get it on your C8 Z06. So here is a better shot at what we're doing today, guys. If you still don't know what these are the underbody Strakes, or the deflector kit. So basically, this is a form of air channeling that will go underneath the C8 Corvette Z06. By now, I'm sure you guys are wondering, what are these things and why does it matter? Well, if you have a C8 Corvette Z06 with the Z07 package, you already have these. But even if you have a Corvette Z06 without the Z07 package, but you did get the AERO kit, you also have these. So why this is important for me, or for any of you out there who have added the AERO kit after you bought the Z06, is these go on the bottom of the car to help channel air out. If you have the AERO kit on your car and it didn't come that way from factory, you do not have these underbody Strakes. And if you don't have them, it could potentially cause some issues with the car, you know, at higher speeds or whatever you want to call it. Basically, the way that the splitter works on this car is it works to push the front end down. There is still positive air that builds up underneath the car that could potentially lift the front end up. These Strakes help channel the air out properly. If you added the AERO kit, GM puts this on every C8 that has the AERO kit, and there's got to be a reason. GM doesn't do anything that isn't necessary. Even though these things are all plastic and rubber, they still cost GM some pennies. And at the end of the day, it is necessary. These are the Strakes. These go underneath the car. We're going to lift the car up. We're going to show you exactly how they'll put them on. These cost me roughly $170, and I used my GM points to buy them. So you don't really have to put out a lot of money for these, roughly 170 bucks. I'll put the part number right here. And if you want to grab these for yourselves, it's a good idea if you do have that AERO kit, if it's something you added on after the fact. Now, obviously, my AERO kit is a little bit of a mixture right now, but it is some Segala and some RSC, Racing Sport Concepts. Very soon to be all Racing Sport Concepts, but either way, it is designed right after the Z07 AERO kit. So this is still something that you do want to do, especially if you drive aggressively or if you track the car. You should have these on the car for that reason. Whenever I went to buy my car, I was not able to get the Z07 kit, but I'm slowly making this literally a Z07 car. So at this point, this is pretty much the final piece outside of the slightly stiffer suspension that I won't have. This will literally make the AERO kit on this car fully functional. So I'm going to show you how to install it, where it goes, and all that good stuff. So let's get this thing in the air. So here's a little bit of a closer look at these things, guys. I'm sure most of you have not seen what the underbody Strakes look like yet. These, like I said, come standard on the factory GM AERO kits for these cars. It does not matter if you get a Z07 or not. If you have the AERO kit, you should have these. But since mine came aftermarket, I do not. Price was decent, so I'm not going to keep harping on this, but we got the car up in the air. We're going to go start with the install here. So if you do have an aftermarket kit like I do, you'll know how to install them. All right, so we are under the car here, and we're going to kind of show you what we got to do to get these installed. So first off, there are a couple speed nuts basically that need to be pushed in to the underbody square holes. You can see one right there.
They pop in pretty easily.
Another one here and another one there. So this is for both Strakes. So yeah, first up, put in the speed nuts, and then these two up here.
That one went in easy.
There you go. And then that's it for the speed nuts. So you'll do 3, 3, 3, and 3. So altogether, what, 12?
Yeah.
So 3, 3, 3, and 3. So we've already done the passenger side 2 Strakes. We're leaving these.
Yeah, we got 3 more to go.
We're leaving those because we got to get off the quick jacks. That's another thing we'll talk about. But ultimately, the way we want to do these is the innermost one, so closest to the fender or the wheel itself, will actually say at the end, left, you can see right there, left hand front. And that's how you know this one goes on the driver's side, and it's going to go closest to the wheel. And we're going to put the included 7mm screws through those speed nuts we just put in. So this is the driver's side wheel right here. We're going to get these started like that. Now, we'll just route it all the way through these speed nuts, and then I'll show you once we're to this third speed nut here.
And don't forget to take off double-sided tape like we almost did again.
Yep, double-sided tape. There's 2 spots of it on each, well, on the outermost strakes. Now, the third speed nut is going to be this hole right here.
Doing it backwards, it's a little more difficult.
And then this little nub right here will actually get slid in behind that piece of metal. And then there is a pop rivet that goes right here. The metal pop rivet is included. That's going to go right there. That tiny little hole you can kind of see. And you can see there's kind of creases in the plastic or the rubber underneath here. That kind of show you where it lines up. So each panel, there's a crease in the rubber, another panel crease in the rubber. So we got the pop rivet in there. The screws all done on the first strake here, and it's gonna end up coming up over here and bolting in ultimately to this screw hole right here underneath the side skirt. Now your side skirts may not have this. This is the RSC side skirt, so there probably will just be a bolt there for you. The second strike is the same kind of thing. It's just going to follow the speed nuts that we put in back with the included 7mm screws. And then we're going to get to the point, just like we are over on the passenger side, where we got to get off the quick jacks to finish this up.
Yeah, quick jacks get in the way a little bit there.
Yeah, but ultimately I wanted to make this video for you guys because number 1, you should have these if you have the Aero kit. But number 2, the included instructions are absolutely awful.
Yeah, that's no lie.
So then the third screw for the second strake here, right into the speed nut that we just installed a second ago. And then this little rubber envelope here will kind of slide up in top, just like that. And then ultimately it's going to bolt in way back here, which we'll show you better once we get this off of the quick jacks. Now, you'll notice there are going to be a couple screws. There's going to be 3 screws go right in here that are not, there's no holes here. So if you don't have this Aero kit from factory, you will not have the holes here. You can do one of 2 things. Drill the holes and put in riv nuts, which are basically a threaded insert that will hold the screw that you can then just screw these on with. What I'm going to do though is I'm actually just going to drill the holes and put in pop rivets. It doesn't really matter which way you do this. The screws are a little bit more involved, but easier if you ever have to maintain these, whereas the rivets will have to be drilled out if I ever decide to take these off for any reason. So you can do it either way. If you do decide you want to do the riv nuts idea, I'll include a link in the description down below to a good riv nut gun, but I decided I was just going to do the rivets because it's just easier. So this is what we had to do to get to the driver's side after the quick jack wouldn't work. I basically jacked up the car and put my race wraps under the front and rear tire to make sure everything was safe. So we got to basically jack the car up, take out the race ramps, jack it up on the other side to finish up this whole install. But you've already seen what you have to do here. You got to do the mirror image of that on the passenger side, and then you are good to go. So underneath the car again, the very first strake is still kind of loose in here. We've got 2 more bolts to put in. The first one is a oval hole right there, right beside the jack puck, and you got to put in the green speed nut. So speed nut's in. Now you'll be able to put a 7mm bolt in there as well. So again, you can kind of see where this thing is shaped a little bit differently to fit into that divot right here. So you can kind of tell you're doing something right.
Then there's this last one for that. That's it.
And that's it. So completely done now, guys. The first strake. Yeah, everything is slid into place, bolted down. This is how it ends. So that one's done. Now the second one, like I said, we're gonna have to drill some holes right here. That's gonna be probably honestly probably the hardest part of this whole thing, aside from the fact that the instructions for these really freaking suck. So I really saw an opportunity to make a video here because of how bad the instructions are. We needed some help. But now we're on to the second strake. That one is going to bolt in to this one right here.
Right.
So again, yours won't look exactly like this because I have a side skirt that you won't have. These full leg side skirts from RSC are not going to be the ones you have. So this bolt will just be a bolt into the frame of the car that you'll have to remove, but that's where it's going to end. It's going to end right behind the first strake.
All right, so there's a little square lip. Make sure it goes underneath.
Underneath a little protruding piece of aluminum or whatever.
Right, that's where this one went under.
Yep.
Bend it so that it goes right to that screw.
All right, so we got all the strakes bolted in. Next step is to drill a hole. You don't have to go crazy with this. A little hole will do it. You don't want to go super deep in there either. That's what she said. Ultimately, you're going to drill 3 holes here, right? 3 on each side.
One to start in the middle.
Yep, 3 on each side. Putting the rivet in. So, first rivet pretty much in.
Yeah, that'll hold it.
Now we're just going to kind of follow somewhat of a curve to make it so, yeah.
There you go. They're in.
All 3. You can see how it's following kind of a curve, so there's no natural corners for the air to get trapped. It's going to push the air out like it was designed to do. So that's pretty much the install of these underbody strakes. We'll snap these rivets off, and then we are good to go here. I'll give you one final look once this is all finished up, but that's the install. Now, obviously, we still have to do the passenger side, but it's going to be more of the same. So one more look at the strakes from the very beginning, guys, on the driver's side, all the way back, just to give you a good idea of the layout here, because, like I said, the instructions are not very good. So we got a couple rivets in there. It's not super difficult to install. It's just kind of going to be a pain because you can't have it up on quick jacks because these kind of run right into the area where your quick jack's going to go. But hopefully that helps, because the instructions are not good, and this is definitely something you should be doing if you have the aero kit on your car. It just helps finish off what the aero is doing on the outside of the car. All right, so we are under the passenger side, and we realized we missed something on the driver's side. So if you look on the innermost strake, the 3rd hole there, right there, is recessed, and there was a stock bolt in there already. What you're gonna wanna do is use the supplied longer screw with 2 washers on the backside to fill in the void, and then put that back through. So that was one thing we missed on the driver's side, and I wanted to point that out to you guys just so if you are doing this, you don't miss that like we did. So this is the part of the manual I was just looking at, the instructions, I should say, which are not very good, by the way, but it did kind of tell me this, where we needed to use these 2 spacers on bolt number 3. But bolt number 3 was almost invisible because the hole was really small. We had to really look at what this thing was telling us to figure out this needs a longer bolt and 2 spacers. So that is pretty much the deal here. We're done with the car. We got it all lowered down. We got the strakes put on. Like I said a couple times now, GM puts these strakes on any car that comes with the Aero package. It doesn't matter if it's a Z07 or not. So if they're doing it, I really feel like there's a reason for it. And the more that I think about it, the more that I think about turbulent air in the front end, and the more that I think about the Aero kit in general, the more I realize it makes a lot of sense to have this Aero kit on this car. So definitely check out the links in the description down below, guys. I will put the part number for everything you need here on the screen. I'll even show you the cheapest place to buy, because it was online. I got it for, I believe, like I said, it was like $170 and some change, and I used my GM points at my local dealership whenever I picked them up. So definitely something you should check out, especially if you do track the car, if you do drive it pretty aggressively, even on some back roads. This is something you should consider, because, like I said, any of these kind of parts that GM has to put extra money into to put on the car, there is no way they're doing it unless you absolutely need it. GM is not going to spend any money on this car any money to build any specific car or truck unless they're putting something on there you need. So anyway, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. So if you liked it, please smash that thumbs up button. Let me know you're liking the content. I like bringing this kind of stuff to you guys because the informational approach to this car is kind of what I feel really matters the most. At the end of the day, I looked online, I looked on YouTube, I looked everywhere I could to find a good install clip for these underbody Strakes. It doesn't exist. So hopefully this helps you guys out, because if you do want to install these, the included instructions, like I said, are not very good. So hopefully this will help you. But anyway, guys, if you liked it, smash the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm gonna have tons of content like this coming with the C8 Corvette in general and C7. It's all good stuff, guys. And as always, stay obsessed.